The year was 2847, and humanity had been part of the Galactic Concord for almost 300 years. In all that time, humans were never taken seriously. The alien species saw them as children who had only recently learned to walk among the stars. They were tolerated but never respected. They were allowed to trade and travel, but they were never invited to the important meetings. They were never asked for their opinions on matters of war and peace. Admiral Catherine Cole had grown tired of this treatment. She was 62 years old, with sharp gray eyes and white hair that she kept short and neat. She had spent her entire life in the Earth Defense Force, watching humanity bow and scrape before species that looked down on them. She had decided 20 years ago that things needed to change. The asteroid had no name, just a number in some forgotten catalog. It drifted in the empty space between Mars and Jupiter, far from any shipping lanes or patrol routes. Catherine had chosen it carefully. Inside its hollowed core, humanity's greatest secret had been taking shape for 2 decades. The ship was called the Ironclad. Commander Nathan Price stood on the bridge as the final systems came online. He was a tall man of 45, with broad shoulders and a calm face that rarely showed emotion. His hands rested on the railing as he looked out through the main viewing window. The asteroid's interior walls were pulling away, revealing the blackness of space beyond. "All systems are showing green," reported Lieutenant Amy Grant from her station. She was young, just 29, with red hair tied back in a tight bun. Her fingers moved quickly across her console, checking and double-checking every reading. "Engines are ready. Weapons are charged. Life support is stable." Nathan nodded slowly. He had been chosen for this command 3 years ago, and he had spent every day since then preparing for this moment. He knew the Ironclad better than he knew his own home. He knew what she could do. The rest of the galaxy was about to learn. "Communications. What is the status of the Concord patrol ships?" he asked. Derek Long looked up from his station. He was a thin man with dark skin and nervous eyes. 3 patrol vessels are conducting routine sweeps in the outer system. They have not detected us yet. They will soon, Nathan said. "Are we ready to transmit our identification?" "Ready on your order, sir." Nathan turned to look at the main screen. The Ironclad was moving now, gliding out of the asteroid like a beast emerging from its cave. She was massive, nearly 2 kilometers long, with a hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. There were no elegant curves or graceful lines. She was built like a fist, blunt and brutal and utterly without apology. The other species in the galaxy had spent thousands of years perfecting their shield technology. Their ships were protected by energy barriers that could stop plasma weapons and laser fire. They had agreed, through the Galactic Concord, to limit certain types of weapons. They had banned missiles that could travel faster than light. They had outlawed biological weapons and planet-killing devices. They believed they had created a stable system where no single species could gain too much power. They had never imagined that anyone would take a different path entirely. The Ironclad carried no shields. Instead, her hull was covered with 6 meters of armor made from neutronium-laced composite plating. It was the hardest material humanity had ever created, forged in secret laboratories deep beneath the surface of the moon. Energy weapons would splash against it like water. Against stone, her weapons were equally unusual. While other species fired beams of plasma or pulses of coherent light, the Ironclad carried magnetic accelerators. These massive guns used electromagnetic force to hurl solid tungsten slugs at incredible speeds. At 12% of the speed of light, these projectiles carried more destructive energy than any plasma cannon ever built. "The patrol ships are hailing us," Derek announced. "They are demanding that we identify ourselves and state our intentions." Nathan allowed himself a small smile. "Open a channel." Let them see what we are. The transmission went out across the system. The patrol ships, crewed by blue-skinned Thisons who had never seen anything like the ironclad, immediately sent warnings to their command. Within hours, the news had spread to every corner of civilized space. The humans had built something impossible on Earth. Admiral Cole watched the reports coming in from across the galaxy. She sat in her office in Geneva, a cup of coffee growing cold on her desk. Her aides brought her updates every few minutes, each one more satisfying than the last. The Thesan Dominion was demanding an emergency session of the Galactic Concord. The Kelani Collective was expressing shock and outrage. The Vrox Empire, who had never joined the Concord and remained hostile to it, was sending messages of congratulation. Ambassador Patricia Webb arrived at Cole's office just after midnight. She was a small woman in her late 60s, with silver hair and a face that had been hardened by decades of diplomatic battles. She had represented humanity at the Concord for 15 years, enduring insults and dismissals with quiet dignity. "They are terrified," Patricia said, sitting down across from the Admiral. "I have never seen anything like it." The Thesan ambassador actually shouted at me. "Good," Catherine replied. "They should be scared. They will demand that we surrender the ship. They will threaten us with war. Let them threaten. They have spent centuries believing that their way was the only way. They built their entire military doctrine around energy shields and plasma weapons. They never considered that someone might simply choose to ignore their rules." Patricia nodded slowly. She had been part of this plan from the beginning. She knew what was at stake. The Concord will vote to prohibit the ironclad. They will call it a violation of every agreement we have signed. "We violated nothing," Catherine said firmly. "I had our lawyers check every word of every treaty. There is nothing in any of them that bans kinetic weapons. There is nothing that requires us to use shields. They made assumptions about how war should be fought, and they never bothered to write those assumptions into law. They will say we violated the spirit of the agreements. Then they should have been more careful with the letter." Out in space, the ironclad continued her slow journey toward Earth. Commander Nathan Price stood on her bridge, watching the stars slide past. He knew that difficult days were coming. The galaxy would not accept humanity's new power without a fight. But for the first time in 300 years, humanity had something to fight with. The ironclad was more than a ship. She was a statement, written in neutronium and tungsten, that humanity would no longer accept being treated as lesser beings. The message was simple. We are here. We are strong. And we will not be ignored. Nathan turned to his crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his own heart. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for the last time. The Grand Assembly of the Galactic Concord met on the Sar Prime, a world of white marble towers and floating gardens. It was considered neutral ground, a place where the 47 member species could gather without fear of attack or treachery. The great amphitheater could hold 10,000 beings, and today it was completely full. Ambassador Patricia Webb walked to the human delegation's platform alone. She wore a simple black suit, her silver hair pulled back from her face. She carried no notes, no papers, no electronic devices. Everything she needed was in her mind. The noise in the chamber was incredible. Dozens of alien languages mixed together, all being translated by the automated systems built into every seat. Patricia could hear fear and anger in every voice. Good, she thought. Fear was useful. High Chancellor Varax of the Thesan Dominion called the assembly to order. He was a tall being with pale blue skin and 4 arms that he used constantly when he spoke. His voice boomed through the chamber like thunder. "We've gathered to address a grave threat to the peace and stability of our galaxy," Varax declared. "The human species has constructed a weapon of war that violates the very foundations of our civilization. This weapon, which they call the Ironclad, must be surrendered and destroyed. Patricia remained still, her face showing nothing. The human delegation will now explain their actions, Varax continued, his 4 eyes fixed on Patricia with obvious hatred. She stepped forward to the speaking platform. The chamber fell silent. Every being in the room was watching her, waiting to hear what excuse the humans would offer. "Thank you, High Chancellor," Patricia began, her voice calm and clear. "I appreciate the opportunity to address this assembly. I understand that many of you are concerned about the Ironclad. Allow me to explain our position." She paused, looking around the chamber at the thousands of faces watching her. Some were hostile. Some were curious. A few, she noticed, seemed almost hopeful. The Galactic Concord was founded on a simple principle, that war between species should be limited and controlled. The military accords, signed 240 years ago, established rules for how conflict should be conducted. These rules banned certain weapons and certain technologies. Patricia raised one hand, counting on her fingers. The accords banned shields above a certain power output. The Ironclad carries no shields at all. The accords ban warp-capable missiles. The Ironclad carries no missiles of any kind. The accords ban biological weapons. The Ironclad carries nothing biological. The accords ban weapons that can destroy entire planets. The Ironclad cannot destroy a planet. She lowered her hand. We have read every word of every agreement that humanity has signed. We have followed every rule. We have violated nothing. The chamber erupted in shouting. Ambassador Cythera of the Kelani Collective rose from her platform, her serpentine body coiling with anger. "You twist the meaning of our laws. You know that the purpose of the accords was to prevent any species from gaining overwhelming military advantage." "Then the accords should have said that," Patricia replied simply. "They did not." "You used deception," shouted another delegate. "You built this weapon in secret. There is no law requiring us to announce our military projects. Do you announce yours?" The debate raged for hours. Species after species rose to condemn humanity, to demand punishment, to threaten consequences. Patricia answered every accusation with the same calm logic. The humans had broken no laws. The humans had followed every rule. The humans had simply found a different path on the second day. The Thesan Dominion introduced Resolution 7412. It was called the Ironclad Prohibition, and it demanded 3 things: that humanity surrender the ship immediately, that all records of its construction be destroyed, and that the engineers who had built it be scattered across different worlds so they could never work together again. The vote was overwhelming. 41 species voted in favor of the resolution. Only 6 voted against, and those were minor powers with no real influence. Humanity had no vote at all. As a minor species, they were only allowed to observe. High Chancellor Varax read the result with satisfaction. The resolution is passed. The human delegation will communicate these demands to their government. They have 30 standard days to comply. Patricia Webb stood up slowly. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. "I have been authorized by the United Earth Government to deliver our response," she said. Her voice was still calm, but there was steel beneath the words. "The answer is no." The chamber went completely silent. "We will not surrender the Ironclad. We will not destroy our records. We will not scatter our engineers. We reject this resolution entirely." Varax's forearms trembled with rage. "You cannot reject a lawful resolution of this assembly." "We just did." "Then you leave us no choice. The Concord will use force." Patricia smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. "You are welcome to try." She walked out of the chamber without looking back. Behind her, Chaos erupted as dozens of species began shouting at once. Back on Earth, Admiral Catherine Cole received the news within minutes. She was in the command center beneath Geneva, surrounded by screens showing the disposition of every military asset humanity possessed. Commander Nathan Price appeared on one of the screens, transmitting from the bridge of the Ironclad. Admiral, we have received word from Ambassador Webb. The Concorde has rejected our position. I expected nothing less, Catherine replied. What is your status? The ship is fully operational. Crew morale is high. We are ready for whatever comes. Catherine nodded. They will send a fleet. The Thesans will not accept this insult quietly. Vorax has staked his reputation on destroying us. How long do we have? Our intelligence suggests they will need at least 30 days to assemble a force large enough to feel confident. They will want overwhelming numbers. They still do not understand what the Ironclad can do. Nathan's face was grim but determined. We will be ready. Catherine leaned forward, her eyes intense. Nathan, I need you to understand something. This is not just about one ship or one battle. This is about the future of our entire species. For 300 years, we have been treated like children. We have been patted on the head and told to be quiet while the adults make decisions. That ends now. I understand, Admiral. The Ironclad is our Declaration of Independence. When this is over, the galaxy will either respect us or fear us. Either way, they will never ignore us again. The transmission ended, and Catherine sat back in her chair. Around her, officers continued their work, tracking ship movements and analyzing intelligence reports. The wheels of war were beginning to turn. In her heart, Catherine felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. Humanity had spent so long being small, being weak, being careful. Now they had a chance to stand tall, whatever the cost. She was determined to see it through. The Concorde had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs. The combined fleet of the Galactic Concorde arrived in Earth's solar system 40 days after the resolution was passed. It was the largest military force assembled in 300 years. 238 warships from 12 different species, their hulls gleaming with energy shields. Their weapons charged and ready. Admiral Tharvex of the Thesan Dominion commanded from his flagship, the Righteous Fury. He was a veteran of 3 wars and had never lost a battle. As he looked at the tactical display showing his massive fleet, he felt nothing but confidence. The humans had 1 ship. He had over 200. The outcome was not in question. Begin the approach, he ordered. Standard Concorde engagement pattern. I want the human vessel surrounded before we demand their surrender. The fleet moved like a great machine, each ship taking its assigned position. 16 combat wings spread out in a layered formation, designed to attack from multiple angles at once. It was a formation that had won countless battles against countless enemies. The Ironclad waited for them near Saturn's rings. Commander Nathan Price stood on the bridge, watching the enemy fleet grow larger on his screens. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. There was no panic, no fear. They had trained for this moment for years. Enemy fleet is entering weapons range, reported Lieutenant Amy Grant. Her voice was steady, but Nathan could see the tension in her shoulders. 238 vessels confirmed. 16 wings in standard assault formation. Communications. Open a channel to the enemy flagship. Nathan ordered. Derek Long's fingers moved across his console. Channel open, sir. The main screen flickered, and Admiral Tharvex's face appeared. The Thesan looked down at Nathan with obvious contempt. His 4 eyes blinked slowly, like a predator watching prey. Human commander, Tharvex said. You have 1 hour to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Your ship will be taken to the Sar Prime for dismantling. Your crew will be transported to detention facilities. If you comply, no one needs to die today." Nathan leaned forward slightly. "Admiral, I'm going to give you a piece of advice that my grandfather gave me. He was a farmer back on Earth, and he used to deal with dangerous animals. He told me, never corner something meaner than you." Darvek's eyes narrowed. "Is that a threat?" "It is a warning. You have brought a fleet designed to fight energy weapons. Your shields can stop plasma fire and laser bursts. But we do not use plasma or lasers. We use kinetic rounds traveling at 12% of light speed. Your shields will not stop them. Your armor will not stop them. If you attack us, your ships will die. You are one vessel against 238. Then this should be interesting." Nathan smiled coldly. "You have my answer. Do what you will." He cut the transmission dot in the engine room. Chief Engineer Carlos Vega was running final checks on the magnetic accelerators. He was a heavyset man with thick arms and grease-stained hands. He had helped design these weapons, and he knew exactly what they could do. "All guns are showing optimal charge," he reported through the intercom. "Ammunition feeds are clear. We can sustain fire for 6 hours before we need to reload." "Understood," Nathan replied. "All hands battle stations. This is not a drill." The ironclad began to move, her massive engines pushing her forward toward the enemy fleet. It was not what Darvex had expected. He had assumed the humans would try to run, or would surrender when they saw the size of the force against them. Instead, they were attacking. "All wings, open fire," Darvex commanded. "Destroy them." The space around the ironclad lit up with plasma fire. Hundreds of weapons discharged at once, filling the void with brilliant streams of superheated energy. Any normal ship would have been vaporized in seconds. The ironclad flew through the barrage like it was nothing. The plasma splashed against her neutronium armor, leaving scorch marks but nothing more. The heat dissipated across the massive hull, spreading out until it was harmless. The ship did not slow down. She did not stop. "Return fire," Nathan ordered. The first magnetic accelerator round left the ironclad's main gun at 36,000 kilometers per second. It crossed the distance to the nearest enemy ship in less than a heartbeat. The Thesan cruiser's shields flared as they tried to stop the projectile, but they were designed for energy weapons. The tungsten slug passed through like the shield was not there. The cruiser exploded. "Target destroyed," Amy reported. "Reloading. Continue firing. Priority targets are the command vessels." The second round hit a Kelani destroyer. The third took out a Thesan battlecruiser. The fourth and fifth destroyed 2 more cruisers in rapid succession. Each shot was a kill. There were no survivors. On the Righteous Fury, Admiral Tharvex watched in horror as his fleet began to die. His tactical display was filling with red markers as ship after ship was destroyed. The humans were not missing. Every single shot found its target. "Concentrate fire on their weapon systems," he screamed. "Disable their guns." But the Concorde fleet's weapons could not penetrate the ironclad's armor. They poured everything they had into the human ship, and it simply kept coming, kept firing, kept killing. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, 63 Concorde warships were drifting wreckage. The survivors were fleeing in disorder, their formations broken, their commanders dead or in shock. Admiral Tharvex's flagship had taken a glancing hit that had killed half his bridge crew. He himself was bleeding from a wound on his head. The ironclad sat alone in the field of debris. Her armor was scorched and blackened in places, but she was intact. She was functional. She was victorious. Nathan looked at the destruction surrounding his ship. He felt no joy, only a grim satisfaction. This had been necessary. Without this victory, humanity would have been crushed. "The damage report," he said quietly. Minor scoring on the forward armor plates, Carlos reported. Some paint damage. Nothing structural. Casualties. None, sir. We did not lose a single crew member. Nathan nodded slowly. He opened a channel to Earth. Admiral Cole's face appeared on his screen. It is done, he said. The Concorde fleet has been defeated. Catherine's expression was unreadable. How many did we lose? None. 63 enemy ships destroyed. The rest retreated. There was a long pause. When Catherine spoke again, her voice was heavy with the weight of what had happened. The galaxy will never look at us the same way again. No, Nathan agreed. They will not. Outside the viewport, the wreckage of the Concorde fleet drifted silently among Saturn's rings. A new era had begun, written in fire and blood and tungsten. Humanity had announced its presence to the universe, and the universe had listened. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species, every world, every being with access to a communications terminal heard about what had happened at Saturn. The mighty Concorde fleet, 238 ships strong, had been broken by a single human vessel. The reaction was not what the Thesan Dominion had expected. Instead of rallying together against the human threat, the Galactic Concorde began to crack. Species that had been unhappy with Thesan leadership for centuries suddenly found their voices. Old grudges resurfaced. Secret negotiations began. The Kelani Collective was the first to reach out to Earth. Their ambassador sent a private message to Patricia Webb, expressing interest in separate discussions. The Vrox Empire, who had never joined the Concorde in the first place, sent warships to patrol near-human space, not as a threat but as a show of support. But while some species sought peace, others sought revenge. Intelligence officer Maria Santos was working late in her office when she found it. She was a quiet woman with dark eyes and a talent for finding patterns that others missed. She had been monitoring Thesan communications for weeks, searching for any sign of their next move. The message was heavily encrypted, but Maria had tools that the Thesans did not know about. When she finally broke the code, what she read made her blood run cold. She ran to Admiral Cole's office without stopping to catch her breath. "Admiral, we have a problem," she said, placing her data tablet on the desk. "A very serious problem." Catherine looked up from her own reports. "What have you found?" "The Thesans are activating something called the Stellar Disruption Platform. It is an ancient weapon from before the Concorde was formed, back when the Thesan Empire conquered half the galaxy through force. It was supposed to have been decommissioned 300 years ago. What does it do?" Maria's voice was barely above a whisper. "It destabilizes stellar cores. It makes stars explode." Catherine's face went pale. They would destroy their own credibility. The Concorde would turn against them completely. The Concorde is already turning against them. Half the member species are talking about leaving. Half the member species are talking about leaving. The Thesans are losing everything they built. High Chancellor Varax is desperate. Maria pulled up more data on her tablet. According to these communications, they plan to target Sol, our son. They want to make an example of us. How long do we have? If they fire the weapon, we would have approximately 4 hours before Sol goes critical. Earth, Mars, Venus, every colony in the inner system. 8 billion people would die. Catherine stared at the data for a long moment. Then she reached for her communicator. "Get me Commander Price, and bring Carlos Vega into this call as well." Within minutes, Nathan's face appeared on one screen, Carlos on another. Maria quickly explained what she had discovered. Nathan's expression hardened as he listened. "Where is this platform located?" "Hidden in the corona of a red dwarf star in Thesan space," Maria replied. "The star is dying, putting out massive amounts of radiation and interference. It is the perfect hiding place. Our sensors would never find it under normal circumstances. But he found it. I found references to its location in their communications. I believe these coordinates are accurate. She transmitted the data. Carlos was already running calculations. That is deep in Thesan territory. We would need to make a long-range emergency jump to get there in time. The Ironclad's engines can do it, but it will burn out half our systems. We would arrive with reduced weapons capability and no way to jump back. Can we still fight? Nathan asked. Yes, but it will not be easy. Nathan turned to look directly at Admiral Cole through the screen. Admiral, what are your orders? Catherine did not hesitate. Stop them. Whatever it takes. Understood. The Ironclad began preparations immediately. Carlos and his engineering team worked around the clock, reinforcing the engine systems as much as possible for the punishing jump ahead. Amy coordinated with Maria to plot the most efficient course. Derek prepared emergency communications protocols. Nathan gathered his senior officers for a final briefing. I will not lie to you, he said, looking at each of them in turn. This mission may be one way. We are gonna jump deep into enemy territory, attack a heavily defended weapons platform, and hope we can destroy it before it fires. Our ship will be damaged by the jump itself. We will be outnumbered. The odds are not in our favor. He paused, letting his words sink in. But if we do not do this, 8 billion people will die. Our families, our friends, everyone we have ever known. The Thesans think they can threaten us with extinction. They think we will back down when faced with the death of our entire species. Nathan's voice grew stronger. They are wrong. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not give up. When we are pushed, we push back harder. That is who we are. That is what makes us human. Amy spoke up, her voice steady. We are with you, Commander. All of us. Derek nodded. Let us go save our people. Carlos grinned despite the tension. I have been waiting my whole life to see what this ship can really do. Nathan felt a surge of pride in his crew. They knew the risks. They understood what might happen. And they were going anyway. Then let us get to work, he said. We jump in 6 hours. Across the ship, the crew prepared for battle. Some wrote letters to loved ones, just in case. Others checked their equipment one final time. A few gathered in small groups to talk or pray or simply sit together in silence. In her office on Earth, Admiral Cole watched the Ironclad's status reports update in real time. She had sent Nathan and his crew on what might be a suicide mission. The weight of that decision pressed down on her like a physical force. Ambassador Patricia Webb entered without knocking. Any word? They jump in 6 hours, Catherine replied. If everything goes according to plan, they will reach the platform with just enough time to destroy it before it can fire. And if things do not go according to plan? Catherine did not answer. She did not need to. The two women sat together in silence, watching the clock count down toward humanity's fate. 6 hours to save a species. 6 hours to change the galaxy forever. The emergency jump nearly tore the Ironclad apart. The ship emerged from faster than light, travel with alarms screaming throughout every deck. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. The lights flickered between normal and emergency red. Somewhere in the engineering section, a fire suppression system activated automatically. Commander Nathan Price gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered around him. Report. Carlos Vega's voice came through the intercom, strained but steady. We lost 3 of our 8 primary thrusters. 2 magnetic accelerators are offline. Hull integrity is holding, but we have breaches on decks 4 and 7. Crew casualties are minimal, mostly minor injuries. Can we still fight? We can fight. We just cannot run. Nathan looked at the main view screen. The red dwarf star filled most of the view, its dying light casting everything in shades of orange and crimson. And there, floating in the star's corona like a mechanical parasite, was the stellar disruption platform DOT. It was massive. The platform was nearly 5 kilometers across, a tangled web of ancient machinery and modern additions. Energy pulsed along its surface as its systems powered up. According to their intelligence, it was already charging for its shot at Sol. How long until they can fire? Nathan asked. Maria Santos checked their readings. Based on the energy buildup, approximately 45 minutes. Then we have 45 minutes to destroy that thing. Amy, what are we facing in terms of defenses? Lieutenant Amy Grant studied her tactical display. Automated defense satellites surrounding the platform. I count at least 200 of them. They appear to be armed with plasma cannons and short-range interceptor missiles. No crew, just machines. They were designed to stop energy weapons, Nathan said. Not kinetic rounds. Correct, sir. But there are a lot of them. Nathan stood up from his chair. This was it. This was the moment everything had been building toward. Not the battle at Saturn, not the confrontation with the Concorde, but this. One ship against an ancient weapon that could destroy everything humanity had ever built. All hands, this is the commander, he announced over the ship-wide channel. We have come a long way to be here. Many people said that humanity would always be a minor species, that we would never matter in the great affairs of the galaxy. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we save our world. He paused, looking around the bridge at his crew. Amy at operations. Derek at communications. Maria at tactical. Carlos's voice in his ear from engineering. These people had become his family. Whatever happens in the next 45 minutes, know that I am proud to serve with every single one of you. Now let us go to work. The ironclad moved forward, her remaining engines pushing her toward the platform. The defense satellites immediately began to react, their sensors detecting the approaching threat. Incoming fire, Amy reported. Multiple plasma streams from the defense grid. Continue forward. Return fire with operational accelerators. The first tungsten round left the ironclad's forward gun and punched through a defense satellite like it was made of paper. The satellite exploded, its debris scattering into the star's corona. A second shot destroyed another. A third and fourth followed, but there were too many satellites, and they were firing constantly. Plasma bolts hammered against the ironclad's armor. Each individual hit was manageable, but together they were adding up. Warning lights began appearing on every console. Armor temperature is rising, Carlos warned. We are taking a lot of hits. How long can we hold? At this rate, maybe 20 minutes before we start seeing real problems. Nathan made a quick decision. Amy, forget about the satellites. Target the platform directly. We need to take it out before they can fire. But the satellites will keep hitting us. I know. Do it anyway. The ironclad changed her aim. The magnetic accelerators turned toward the stellar disruption platform. Calculating firing solutions for the massive target ahead, the first round struck the platform's outer ring, blowing away a section of ancient machinery. The second hit closer to the center. The third caused a secondary explosion as it destroyed what looked like a power coupling, but the platform was built to survive. It had been designed by an empire that conquered through fear, and it had been made to withstand almost any attack. Its core was protected by layers of armor that even the ironclad's weapons struggled to penetrate. We are not doing enough damage, Maria said, her voice tight with frustration. The core is too well protected. We need to get closer. If we get closer, we will take even more fire from the satellites. Then we take more fire. Nathan looked at the tactical display. The platform's energy readings were climbing steadily. 30 minutes until it could fire. Then 25. Then 20. Carlos, can you give me more power to the engines? I can try. It might burn them out completely. Do it. Amy, plot an intercept course. We are going in close. The ironclad surged forward, her engines screaming with the strain. The defense satellites increased their fire, concentrating everything they had on the approaching human ship. The armor temperature climbed past safe levels. Systems began to fail. Forward accelerator 2 is down, Amy reported. We have 3 guns left. Keep firing. Hull breach on deck 3. Emergency bulkheads are holding. Keep firing. The ironclad closed the distance, taking punishment that would have destroyed any other ship in the galaxy. Her neutronium armor blackened and cracked in places. Secondary systems failed across the ship. Crew members worked frantically to keep essential functions running at 500 meters from the platform's core. Nathan gave the order. All remaining accelerators, fire at once. Point-blank range. Everything we have. 3 tungsten rounds left the ironclad's guns simultaneously. At this distance, there was no time for the platform systems to react. The rounds struck the core almost instantly, delivering more kinetic energy than a small nuclear weapon. The stellar disruption platform died in silence. Its core collapsed inward, then exploded outward in a massive burst of energy and debris. The ancient weapon that had once destroyed entire star systems was gone forever. Nathan slumped in his chair as the explosion faded. Around him, his crew began to cheer, their voices mixing with the sound of alarms and damaged systems. Maria, confirm the target is destroyed. Confirmed, Commander. The platform is gone. Sol is safe. Nathan closed his eyes for a moment, allowing himself to feel the relief that washed over him. They had done it. Against all odds, they had done it. The journey home took 3 weeks. The ironclad limped through space, her engines barely functional, her hull scarred and battered. But she made it. When she emerged from warp at the edge of Earth's solar system, she was not alone. Ships from 30 different species had gathered to meet her. Kelani vessels flew alongside Rock's warships. Former members of the Concord escorted ancient enemies. They formed an honor guard around the wounded human battleship, escorting her home. The Galactic Concord dissolved 6 months later. In its place, a new alliance formed, one based on equality and mutual respect. Humanity sat at the table as a founding member, equal to any species in the galaxy. The ironclad was repaired and then retired with full honors. She was placed in orbit above Earth as a monument, a reminder of the day humanity refused to be small. Admiral Catherine Cole visited the memorial on its first anniversary. Nathan Price, now an admiral himself, stood beside her. They looked up at the great ship floating among the stars, her hull still bearing the scars of her final battle. Think they will ever truly understand us? Nathan asked quietly. Catherine considered the question. Humanity had proven itself through fire and determination. They had shown that they would not be threatened, would not be bullied, would not be ignored. But understanding was different from respect. No, she said finally, but they will respect us. And for now, that is enough. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. The same stars that humanity had reached toward for thousands of years. The same stars that were now open to them, truly open. For the first time, the ironclad hung above them, a testament to human courage and human stubbornness. She had been prohibited because she was too powerful. Instead, she had become a legend. And humanity had found its place among the stars.